Hello people, hi all, I hope you're all doing great. So in today's video, let us learn how to create an XML view. So what I've done is I have created an XML project which is XML underscore example here that you're able to see on the left. I have created a page 0 view and with it got created a page 0 controller by default. I have an index.html page here, I have a page 0 view.xml here, and I have my index.html here which I have run so that we don't have to waste time in order to wait for the output to come up. So we'll just create an XML page today. I've just changed the title. This is the only change that I've done with employee records application with this text on the title. Alright, so now let us quickly begin. I'll just tell you what is it that we're looking forward to create. We would be creating an employee lookup form in XML development paradigm this time. We've already seen how to do it in JavaScript and HTML development paradigm, right? So I would be using a lot of layouts, I would be using a lot of simple forms, I would be using a lot of labels and a lot of elements. So and the major part of this would be the spacing and how we are trying to come up with a beautiful form, or a form which is at least lookable, which is not dirty, and we'll see how to come up with a form like that. So in order to do that, let us first create a layout, and for this layout I would give it a grid. Okay, and this grid would be having a default span. Okay, and this default span would be having L and MS, L, M and S as 12, 12 and 12. I mean, now I have tested this application before I'm showing this to you, so I kind of know how it would look. But then I would it's a humble request from my side for all of you to practice and when you're practicing, I want you to change these values here so that you're able to feel and understand the difference that would come up. Okay, and this layout would be having a content. All right, now I would be taking, okay, I would be considering a form, and this form would be a simple form. Okay, it is SIMPLE. Okay, and it would be having a simple form with S and F as capital, and I would be using certain properties to this, like max container calls, which is equal to 1. I want you to do your research and understand what these properties are. Editable equal to true. I'm just using some random properties, not required that each and every property makes a very substantial effect on these. No, not at all required. And this would be responsive grid layout. Okay, now here R would be capital, G capital and L capital. My G is also supposed to be in capital, followed by L. Okay, done that. And now I'll just give it a title. I'll just give my simple form a title. We'll see why. And it would be an employee lookup. Okay, done. My simple form is closed. Saving this, refreshing the output just to see. Okay, I have an employee lookup. Done. So now within this form, I would be now creating a form content. Closed. Okay, now within my form content I would be taking a layout now. Okay, now this layout would be a grid layout. Okay, it would be layout followed by a grid, and this grid I would now have some properties, and I would just like to take the same properties again, interested in making it less complex and more easier for you to understand. And here I just change this to max width. This is also another usable property, and you can change this to 1024. All right, and okay, it's not 10240, yeah, it's 1024. Closed. Okay, now the error is gone again. Then within a grid layout I would be taking a layout content, so it would be layout content. Now this also has been closed. Now within a layout content I would be considering a form. All right, so now my form would begin, and this would have another form, attached to it, and I would take a class, and this time I would take my class as, as an editable form, and here F would be in caps lock. Okay, my form, editable form, is closed. Now I would be taking another form again, and this time my form would, point to a layout, again with a small L, guys. Okay, save it. Let me just see the output, if you're having an output or if there's an error somewhere, because if there's an error, then we would have to see. Okay, there's no error, the output seems to be coming up. Okay, now I've taken a form layout. Now I'll give the required configuration of my form. Okay, the configuration, as in I would have to give which type of form it is. It would be a responsive grid layout with R, G, and L in caps. Now I would be taking a label span with L as small and S as capital. Okay, label span L, and I should also have a label span M. Okay, and label span M would be like this. So now I'm taking a value for label span L, it would be 3, and I'm also taking a value for my label span M, which is 3, and just like this I would also be taking an empty span. Okay, okay, now empty span also would have an L and M with it. Empty span L, control C, control V, followed by empty span M. Okay, now again these also would be 3 and 3 respectively, 3 and 3, and then I would take something known as columns, again with an L and M. As I have already said, I have tested this application before coming up to you. Now I want you to change the values and see how your output would differ with change in values, because not every time you enter the same values would you be having the same output. Okay, so now my form has been designed, and this would be the variant of my form. Okay, now here within the enclosure of my form layout, I would be considering a form container. Okay, now for that I would have to take form with a small f followed by form containers. Okay, now this is a plural with capital C and small f. Uh, okay, now in my form containers, I would now be considering another form, and it would be form container, because form containers is my parent node, and my parent node wouldn't exist without a child node. So my form container begins, and I would be taking a small property for my form container like expandable equal to true. Okay, yeah, that property itself should be enough. Now I would be considering another thing, that would be form, and now I'll give form elements, because now I think it's time that we begin giving the elements, MENTS. All right, and just another property, that is visible equal to true. Great, this also has been closed. Now inside my form elements, I would now come up with different properties, and I would start with a form. Okay, now this is not form elements, it is form element. It is a singular, it is not plural. See, this mistake could have costed us very dearly. So now I'm just refreshing this to see if my output is coming up or no. Okay, my output is working just fine, thank God. In this I would be having my label. Okay, and yeah, so now let us go ahead and create our first element. that we were looking for. It would be a form. Okay, because it's the first element, I would like to give some space to differentiate this. It would be a form followed by a label, close, and within this I would be considering a label, right? And text would be the most important property of any label, and I would be giving this an employee name. Okay, and I'll also give this another property, that is required equal to true. And closing this, I can close this right here, save. And I'll also have to consider an input, guys. In a form field, input cannot be forgotten, because you wouldn't have anything next to it if there's no input. So I'm taking a form again, and this time it would be form fields, 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 and this fields is to be closed, and within this field I would be considering just an input. Okay, it would be with a capital. There are no default proposals, so I would like to close it here only. Input has been considered. Now I'm going to my output just to refresh and see if everything is coming up fine, or okay, it's coming up fine. So now I'm going back to my view. I'm copying things from my form label to fields. All right. Okay, I'll actually have to copy from my form element each and every time, because they're all different elements, right? So this kind of spacing would be appropriate. Yeah, so from here to here we have one element, or we have two elements in one line. Yeah, I think that would be a better explanation of the same. All right, so now I've just copied this thrice. I've done nothing different. Okay, saving it, going back to the index. I'm just refreshing this to see if they would all come in very well arranged pattern. Yes, they are. Now I'll go ahead, and all that I'll have to do is change the values, okay, and change the names. So the first is an employee name, right? We've considered an employee name. So now we'll consider the employee number. Okay, and then we, okay, here would be the number. Okay, I've given an employee number, and then okay, now in the third field, let us come do this employee joining date. Okay, now I'm saving this. Let me go to the output. Yeah, but then guys, how can date be entered manually? I need some pickup thing here, right? So if I need that, input would not do good. I would need a date picker rather. So saving this, now let me go to the output to see if I would be having a date picker. Okay, yes, I have a date picker, and if I click on this, I would be having various dates that I can select, and if I select like this, so the date would come here automatically. The employee number could be given to 13 or whatever it is, and the employee name can be saved as Varun, which is my name, followed by Rao. Okay, so now we've done with these three fields. Joining date, in the same way, let's also go ahead with the resign date, because okay, now this resign date, it's not necessary that it has to be there. It could also be not applicable. So this we'll keep it as required, as this will change the required to false. Okay, then the third or the fourth value I would like to consider is the country which he is from, he or she. So control V, saving this and changing this to country. And when we talk about a country, generally we would look for an F4 help, right? But then how will we get an F4 help now? We do not know how to get an F4 help. So in order to do that, now what we will be doing is we will be changing the date picker. We don't need a date picker now. Rather, we would be requiring something else. And that something else would be show value help. Okay. Now for that, I would consider an input only. And to an input, I would consider a property that would be show with a small s, capital V, show value, and a capital H equal to true. This would be set to true. Okay, I have to close the input. The input is closed. Let me go to the index and let us just hope we are having something different here. And we do. Okay, we do not have a controller assigned, so that's the reason why we are not able to see anything there. And now finally I would be taking another element, and this time it would be you could probably say the address. We have not considered the address till now, so let me just consider the address. I'll quickly copy this. Okay, form element has been copied, and all right, pasting this, control save, and here I would be creating a form element, and but this time it would be an address. Now let us just create multiple input fields on the same box. Okay, and in this multiple fields we'll just see how to add different boxes, right? So yeah, so how do we do that, guys? In order to do that, what we'll have to do is we'll have to take three input boxes. So now we would be considering three input boxes or two input boxes and a button. Okay, so yeah, here we'll keep the required as false. Okay, now the the form field has begun. So for the first thing, I would keep this as false, saved it. Now I'll take an other input. Okay, this is one input, right? So now I have to consider another input also, and here I'll put it as true, and I'll also consider a button. Just like that, because I want to see how I would have it. And in the button I would write it as save. Okay guys, now please do not think of this as an actual requirement or as an actual expectation. I'm just doing this so that we have a better understanding over things. Okay, so this is my first input box, my second input box with an F4, and I have my save button also created here. Okay, so this is how we would be creating a form. Okay, let us just create a small a last column just to be you know just to complete this. Save, control V, notes about the employee. Okay, and this can be a false, and yeah, it can be saved. So just in case if there's any note that an employer wants to see, okay, he would be able to see. So it's about the employee. Like, just let's consider that the employee has the last 15 days as the notice period. Then how would an HR know about it? So this is a small note for the employee. Okay, the address is a mandate because every organization would definitely look for an address. So we'll change this to true, saving it, going ahead to my index, refreshing this. Okay, so my address has a mandatory button, or mandatory thing now. Okay, so guys, I hope you have learned something new, and in the upcoming video or session, we will also look at further elements of the same XML application. Just uh, in probably in next 24 hours, I would be uploading that also, and I would want you to make complete use of this. Do practice this as much as possible. I've tried to wind this up in 20 minutes of learning and understanding kind of a thing. Made it as easy for you as possible within the best of my capabilities. I hope you have enjoyed watching this and you have learned something new. All the very best. Happy learning, happy coding, and yeah, happy growth. So thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great day ahead. And do subscribe to this channel and do share this video if you find that this is useful and it might help others as well if in case you feel so. Thank you all.